U.S. intelligence agency mind control.
Right?
That's what they say.
Welcome back. Senate Republicans are criticizing President Biden for pausing the delivery of high payload bombs to Israel. At a Wednesday hearing on the Defense Department budget, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham grilled Pentagon leaders.
If we stop weapons necessary to destroy the enemies of the state of Israel at a time of great peril, we will pay a price. This is obscene. It is absurd. Give Israel what they need to fight the war they can't afford to lose. This is Hiroshima and Nagasaki on steroids.
Shut the fuck up.
And Senator Lindsey Graham joins me now. Senator
play
Graham,
down.
welcome back to Meet the Press.
Bro, hang on.
Happy Mother's
We
Day.
got to go back to Lindsay not realizing he's about to be live, right? Watch,
Joins me now. Senator Graham, welcome back to Meet the Press.
keep going. You got to see his whole thing when they cut to him. It's so funny. Okay, here you go.
And Senator Lindsey Graham joins me now. Senator Graham, welcome back to Meet the
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that very much. Look, you have been quite clear, as we just heard there, that you are opposed to President Biden's threat to withhold military aid if Israel does invade Rafah. But let me ask you this question. Why shouldn't Israel's war against Hamas proceed in a more
Supporting the
precise
war is
way
literally
with
the
a clear
pro-Hamas
plan to
position.
mitigate
Yes, you
civilian
get it
deaths
now.
in Gaza?
You've ascended.
Well, I think it's impossible to mitigate civilian deaths in Gaza as long as Hamas uses their own population as human shields. I've never seen in the history of warfare such blatant efforts by an enemy, Hamas, to put civilians at risk. And the last thing you want to do is reward this behavior. They put weapons in mosques. They fire artillery rounds from apartment buildings. They put command centers under hospitals to maximize civilian casualties as Israel tries to destroy the terrorist group. You don't want to reward this by restricting weapons to the victim of their attack. But let me just say this. This is Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day, but this is a tough time for the world. What Senator Sanders said, not another nickel of military aid to the United States, is the most dangerous, irresponsible statement in the history of the U.S. relationship. This is not Vietnam. Israel is in a fight for their lives. Hamas says they will do it again and again and again. They're dedicated to the destruction of the Jewish state, not helping the Palestinian people. Iran, the great Satan, vows to destroy Israel. So does Hezbollah.
Oh,
Israel
he
is
turned it
surrounded by
on him.
forces, terrorist
He
groups
turned
that
it
want to
on him. He
destroy
called
the Jewish
Iran
state,
the great
not help the
Satan.
Palestinians. This is 9/11 and Pearl Harbor all rolled into one. To abandon Israel under these circumstances would be outrageous. It would be dangerous. And Republicans are going to fight back against Bernie Sanders and the squad.
Senator, let me just push you a little bit, though, because, of course, the United States has provided Israel with tens of thousands of...
Fasting was dumb. That's when Buddha reached enlightenment. He said, wait, fasting is stupid. I'm not helping anyone by doing this.
Bombs and missiles just to prove some $14 billion in military aid last month. So the United States, even the IDF has given it an extraordinary amount of support. I want to ask you, though, do you think Israel is in any way prepared to listen to work with President Biden? And is he trustworthy? And let me ask it this way. In a survey this week, more than half of Israelis said they thought Prime Minister Netanyahu's chief consideration was his own political survival. You've said you trust Israel more than the U.S. Defense Secretary. But why should Americans trust Netanyahu to put the United States interests first?
Americans should be all in it.
I am thoroughly confused.
About?
What the fuck is this?
Looks like Hindu North Korean fascism.
Well, I retweeted. I'm like, is this a Nazi flag? I clicked on the account. It may not. Anyway, it says Nazmau Juche. So
that's nice.
Yeah. I'll type it out so everybody can truly comprehend what the fuck is going on. This is what was in his account. I'm confused. National Maoism? Okay.
in helping Israel against an existential threat. The one thing Israel and America has in common, Hamas would attack us if they could. Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism that shouts death to America, and Hezbollah is in the same camp. I've never heard anybody in Israel chant death to America. The people Israel is fighting are bent on destroying all of the Jews. This is Holocaust.
What about when they
Remembrance
danced
Month,
when
for God's
9/11
Oh
sakes.
my
happened?
god! It's literally just Nazbol. It's just
Yeah.
another version of Nazbol.
We're watching Lindsey Graham right now.
I know. Same thing.
Equivocally support Israel. Yes, work with them to limit civilian casualties. They want to do that. I know they do. They have a whole battalion dedicated to that. But this idea of withholding weapons to Israel is rewarding the tactics of Hamas to put civilians at risk. Here's my statement to the administration. Sit down with Israel, keep the weapons flowing, and work out a plan, if you can, that gets us all to where we need to be. I talked with Israel this morning. They are discussing with the Biden administration a way forward. I am somewhat hopeful we can jump over this impasse, but do not let Bernie Sanders run this war. Bernie Sanders and the squad are insane when it comes to how to defend Israel. He just said on national television, cut off every nickel of military aid to the Jewish state who's being threatened with oblivion. Shut these people down. This decision was political. He's trying to appease the radical left Biden is.
Senator, just to be clear, the administration's
Radical
every
left.
nickel. And I guess the question is, why does Israel need the most massive bombs that can potentially level an entire block in order to wage this war? Why can't it be more precise?
That's why.
Listen, you know, here's what I would say about fighting an enemy who wants to kill you and your family. Why did we drop 2 bombs, nuclear bombs, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end a war that we couldn't afford to lose? You don't understand, apparently, what Israel is facing. They're facing 3 groups. Iran, who has received $80 billion in aid. When Trump left office, they were exporting 300 barrels of oil a day. Now they're at 1.3 million
Hiroshima
a day.
defender Graham.
They've been enriched by Biden. They're taking that money to kill all the Jews. So when we were faced with destruction as a nation after Pearl Harbor, fighting the Germans and the Japanese.
Bruh. Destruction as a nation. How many of the Axis forces got to the United States or the Americas in general? Was it 0? 0? It was 0, right? 0. Cool. Great. All right. Cool.
Japan did Pearl Harbor, sir.
Did they put troops on the ground?
I mean, look, I just want to say they did do Pearl Harbor. They got there. They got close. That's closer than
troops
that's
on
closer than
Hawaiian
anyone
soil?
else has ever gotten.
Some would say Hawaii isn't America.
Okay.
Some would say they stole it, but sure. Did they put troops on the ground? Were there Japanese boots on American soil?
Yeah, that's why we needed the camps.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
what they said. That's what they said.
All right, Lindsey Graham. There we go. We got there. Lindsey Graham defending Japanese internment camps because Nagasaki, Hiroshima. Sure, great. We got there. Cool. Fuck
Okay.
you.
Okay, keep going though. He's gonna say more insane
We decided
shit.
to end the war by bombing Hiroshima and
And like,
Nagasaki.
in my opinion, Lindsey Graham is like the best foreign policy guy the Republicans have.
Weapons. That was the right decision. Give Israel the bombs they need to end the war they can't afford to lose, and work with them to minimize casualties.
Senator, that military officials would argue that there has been so much technology since those bombs were dropped that for that very reason, that is why Israel and other developed countries can be more precise. But let me ask it this way, because President Biden is not the first president to use arms shipments to try to influence Israeli policy. As you know, former President Ronald Reagan on multiple occasions withheld weapons to impact Israel's military actions. Did President Reagan show
wasn't
that
fighting
using
Hamas.
U.S. military aid as leverage can actually be an effective way to rein in and impact Israel's policy?
When you're telling the world you're going to restrict weapons delivery to the Jewish state who is fighting a 3-front war for their survival,
Are they though?
it emboldens Iran.
Or are they attacking them and they're then saying that it's a 3-front war because it's actually a 3-front offensive from them?
emboldens Hamas. Sinwar is probably juiced up on the idea there's daylight between the United States and Israel. The hostage deal is harder. This is the worst decision in the history of the U.S.-Israel relationship to deny weapons at a time the Jewish state could be destroyed. So here's what I would say.
You didn't answer the question.
There is some hope we can get over this. Non-negotiable, the destruction of Hamas. Nobody in Israel will allow Hamas to be standing militarily or politically when this is over. How we get there is subject to negotiation. My problem is not with the weapons that Israel is using. My problem is with the tactics that Hamas is using, and the idea that America would not send a nickel of aid, echoed by a United States senator when all the Jews are trying to be killed by radical Islamic groups, tells us where we're at as a nation. The Republican Party is with Israel without apology.
Well, historians would say, why is it okay for Reagan to do it and not President Biden? But let me ask you about
why is it okay? Well, can I say this? Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
It wasn't. It never has been.
He's so
and it
mad.
never will be.
Bro, you see how mad he is?
He's seething.
In their existential threat war. Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay.
So
Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
Senator, again, military officials say the technology has changed. But let me ask you about how all
these
of this
military officials.
Well, I told my friend that I think I told you this, but I said to him, you might not watch the news, you might not be influenced by Israel's propaganda, but your family, people you talk to, your friends, people around you at work, they watch Fox News. They watch this shit. They listen to these idiots, and these idiots are more genocidal than Israel is. Because they can be. Because they don't have genocide charges levied against them yet. But they fucking should. This is
Lindsey Graham's getting out. Look at how ruffled he is. He's like ruffling his papers and everything. There's a big ass June bug in here now. You know what a June bug is?
I don't know.
It flew away from the light. Hang on. They're really stupid. They like crash into your walls and then eventually just die.
That's funny.
They're like really dumb bugs.
That you're talking about.
Let me ask you something.
Full of crap.
Let me ask you something that I know you care a lot about, and that is the Saudi normalization deal. How would a ground invasion into Rafah impact what you believe is critical, getting a deal for normalization
Let's
in the
see how he
region with
handles
Saudi
this.
Arabia?
Really good question. Number one, I want to keep pursuing this because you asked Tony a good question. What happens the day after? To my friends in Israel, what happens the day after? To Tony, what happens the day after? I want the Arab world, the UAE and Saudi Arabia to come in and give the Palestinian people hope.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?